Alright everybody, hello and welcome back. This is Colin, and today, very excited, we're going to be playing Kerbal Space Program together. Now I've played this game a little bit before, but I thought we'd start something brand new together. Now if you haven't played this game or haven't heard of it, it is a space program simulator in which you are in a solar system, and you start off on an Earth-like world named Kerbin. And you have these little guys that we see here, which are Kerbal astronauts or Kerbonauts. And basically, you just build up a space program from essentially scratch, design your own rockets, and fly them into space, and most likely blow up in the atmosphere from time to time and fail a landing. And it's pretty fun. So what I thought we'd do, I wanted to try something a little bit different. So in this game, there's the option to say if you mess something up, you can revert to a previous time. Excuse me as my voice goes hoarse. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, so you can revert to a previous time as if nothing happened. So if you blow up your spaceship or something goes wrong or you ran out of fuel and you want to try it again, you can just revert, no problem. I thought with this one we'd have the strict rule of no restarts whatsoever. So if things go wrong, they just go wrong, and we've got to live and or die by those decisions and mistakes. So I imagine it's going to be grueling. I imagine it's going to be kind of tough, but we're going to see what happens. We're going to go to start new here, and the save name, what are we going to call this? I can't even think of anything. I usually don't even name these things. We're just going to keep it with default for now. How about that? Let's change our flag. All these interesting flags in the game. You can also put your own in there. We might do that one. For right now, though, I think we can just stick with, let's just go with NASA. How about that? That seems good. More professional feel. Okay, so there are 3 game modes. Sandbox, you've got everything. There's no constraints. You don't have to research any higher levels of science. And you don't have any missions that you can that people offer you contracts. In science mode, you only have to worry about getting science. You don't have to worry about completing contracts. And career mode, you have to do everything, and it's a little tough. So we're going to go to the difficulty options. And since I'm having this really kind of heavy limitation on no restarts, it could get kind of rough. So I'm gonna up my funds rewards, which means that if I complete a contract, I'll get 30% more money than I would, and I'm gonna do that likewise for science. Hopefully that's kind of balanced. I'm not really sure. We're gonna find out. We're gonna see how it works. I'm not really worried about the reputation rewards or penalties. No, Sachi says hello. She's in the back room right now. And yeah, I think that's just about it. We're just going to go right into it and start her up. Do I want... Okay. Okay, so I can't call it default. So we'll just call it... I haven't even come up with a name for the series yet, but we'll just call it... This is bad. Kerbalization. That is a terrible name, but that's what we'll call it for now. We'll come back to that. Alright, sip of coffee. Sachi needs to go outside. I might have to take care of that real quick. Okay, we're in the game. And, yeah, I'm actually going to take care of the dog real quick, because she's just back there barking, and I feel bad for her. I'll bring her right back. Okay, we're back. She definitely wanted to go outside. The neighbor's dogs are outside, and she loves to look at them and whine the whole time, because she can't get over the fence to see them. Alright, enough of that, though. Okay, so we're in the Space Center. We have landed. So this is our little humble home for now. It gets a little bit more upgrades and stuff like that as you move along in the game. I'm going to say thanks. I've got it to Gene Kerman, the flight director, because I have played it before and I'm fairly familiar with what's going on. So we got several different buildings around here. Start off with, we've got our launch pad over here. And we've got mission control, which is where we get all these contracts. So we definitely want to do that. I want to accept these contracts because they're the way we're going to get extra science and extra funds. And like I said, we're going to need the science to research more and more advanced technologies for progressing in the game. And I'll show you all that here in a minute. Let's see. So gather scientific data from Kerbal. That will be very easy. We will we'll accept that one, and we'll accept launch our first vessel. Now we can only accept 2 contracts at a time, so that's just fine. So we're going to leave the facility. Over here we've got our space plane hangar, which is where we make like the kind of like space shuttle-y type things. There's a lot more words that go along with this, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. We've got our dirt runway, which is upgradable. All these things are upgradable. I just don't have the money for it right now, obviously. And then let's see, our astronaut complex. Wow, the next hire, that's actually really high. 65,000 for the next hire. This could get rough. I hope nobody dies, because I definitely can't afford that right now, and it's going to take me a lot more time to be able to afford it. So we'll see. This could get weird. All right, but yeah, we've got our. Whoops, I didn't mean to go in the space plane hangar. Hello, Werner von Kerman. A little throw to Werner von Braun. Okay, we don't need to be in there. There we go. Okay, back to the astronaut complex. So we got these 4 brave souls that have volunteered for this work. Jebediah Kerman. Jeb, he's kind of your main pilot at the beginning, or at least traditionally in the game. And then we've got an engineer, Bill Kerman, and a scientist, Bob Kerman. Now they do have slightly different roles. You need the engineer to repair broken parts in space and do some attaching and detaching, and just in case you need to move some stuff around or modify your spacecraft, I'm pretty sure. And then the scientist, you need to actually perform the more detailed science missions and to be able to restart scientific experiments and to be able to actually run a scientific lab in space. And we'll get to all that later, because we're definitely going to need science. And then we've got another pilot, Valentina Kerman. So we will be using everybody in due time. The administration building, this is where you kind of you have these different strategies that you can choose. Basically, like, well, that one actually doesn't look like it's doing anything right now. Okay, this is where, like, if I have a bunch of science that I don't need to use, I can essentially sell the science to get money. We might do that at some point. We might need to do that. And then a bailout grant, which kills our reputation, but gives us some money. Now, I won't do that either. I usually don't mess with these. I just don't feel like they're, I guess, balanced enough for what I think I actually need. But maybe that'll change in this one, because it'll be a little bit more difficult, way more real. All right, and we've got our R&D facility. So as you can see, there's this big research tree. We have 0 science right now, which is how it starts off. And you can see the start. You start off with these basic parts, and I'll show you those here in a second. But the next 2 available are basic rocketry, which we get a little upgraded engine, which has some gimbaling, some ability to maneuver. Another solid fuel booster, which again, we'll get into what these parts are, and a little fuel tank. And then over here we've got Engineering 101, which gives us a thermometer, which we'll be able to do some science with. And then a antenna if we want to beam science or reports back to the base, which we will definitely be doing. And a stack decoupler. And another version of a antenna. So there's all that, but we don't have those yet. And we've got our tracking station, which here we are able to view everything we have in space, basically, which we have nothing in space. But from here, we can look at what's going on. So this is Kerbin, and we are actually, let's see, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure we are right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. I hope you can. But yeah, it's just this little spot right in the middle of the screen is where our space center is. Pretty much right on the equator, which is awesome. Makes launches super easy in that sense. All right, so out from there we've got the Mun, which is, let's see, it is 11.4 million meters away. So 11,000 kilometers, I want to say. And then out from there, we've got Minmus, which is our secondary moon. And you can see it has a tilted axis of orbit. I can't remember all the names of the specific space things, but we'll learn those together as we go along. It's attitude. It's I can't remember. But that, of course, we'll have to compensate for that if we want to get out to Minmus. We have to kind of figure out a smart way to match up with its inclination, and that'll be fun. So out from there, we leave Kerbin, and we're out into the main solar system. Now, in my previous plays, I had gotten to Duna, which it has its own moon, if not moons. No, just moon. And a EK, or Ike. I don't know how people are pronouncing these things. But yeah, I had gotten to both of these, and boop-a-doop-a-doo. I think that's just about it. I may have landed. No, I didn't land on Eve. I didn't go any farther than that. So I'm pretty excited about trying to get to some of these places. You can see these things are incredibly far away. Some of the flights take years in game time, in real game time. But yeah, so that's going to be fun. We're going to get back to that. So we're going to get out of the tracking station. And I hear Sachi barking, so I'm going to let her back in. And then we're going to set up our first rocket and do our first launch. All right, we're back. She is actually not want to come back inside. She is just at the fence, just whining piteously. And those other dogs just could not care less. They are just not, they're just so chill over there. Yep, that's her just yipping. Can't really do anything about that right now. Okay, so let's go into the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. And this, of course, is where we're going to build our first ships. So, you've got all your parts over here on the left. And, of course, we don't have that many parts available. So, when you're building this thing, generally you want to start with a command pod. Start with something that the Kerbals can be inside of, and then kind of work your way from there. So we've got our generic, like Apollo or Mercury style command pod, if you're familiar with the actual NASA missions. We've got our little hatch. It seats one Kerbal, and that's about it. We always got to think about how heavy things are, and various other factors. But for now, this is just going to be such a simple start because we don't have many parts at all. Oh, there's another bark. Okay, so we're looking. All right. Now I'm gonna have to go let her in. All right. So essentially, we have very limited parts. So what we've got right here is the RT5 Flea solid fuel booster, and you can see that there's a couple things to know about it. It runs on solid fuel, and the thing about solid fuel boosters is that you can't turn them off. They just burn until they're done, and that's it. So we're gonna put one of these. See the way that attaches there? There's always these green and black kind of attachment spheres to let you know where and when, or where you can attach things. I always like the little fun details. Caution, contains boom. And yes, it does. It will definitely get us launched. Now, we got to think about a couple things here. That's our booster. That's going to get us into the air, right? And basically, on this first launch, all we want to do is collect some science data and launch a vehicle and safely return it. Because again, we are not going to reset at all. So they give us, thankfully, this parachute, which generally, it's a top-facing parachute, so it's prudent to stick it on like this. But I kind of feel like this won't be enough to safely drop the command pod and the booster because we don't have a separator. So I can't I can't eject the booster once we're done with it, right? So I think I'm gonna go ahead and start off weird. Let's go to structural. Yeah, okay, so they give us this modular girder segment to start off with. And you can kind of rotate things as they go. So I'm hoping, let's see if this works here. Grab this guy again. No, I still won't be able to attach another one. Alright, so we're just going to wing it. We're just going to go for it. Now, we definitely want to get some science data. And I think we don't need to put this mystery goo trademark containment unit. Normally we could put one of these on the side. You can also press X, and that changes the amount of mirroring. So you can see that it mirrors it around it, and you can go up to I think 8. Yeah, but we don't need any of that. I don't think we even need one, because I think we're going to be able to do science without the little science container on there. I'll show you what that all means. Alright, the last thing we need to pay attention to is our staging, which is here in the bottom right corner. You can see that there's only one stage, the 0 stage, and this is basically the sequence of events, when things happen, when things fire, when engines go off. So 0 is always the last one, and the higher up the number, is the one that's going to happen first. I can't explain that very well. Alright, so we're going to drag the engine down and put it on the first stage, and then we're going to have our parachute on our 0 stage. If we had kept them together when we launched, the parachute would have deployed and the booster would have got off at the same time. Alright, so I think that's it. We have got, it automatically puts a pilot in there if it can, or a crew member in general. So Jeb's already in the cockpit, or slated to be. So, let's launch. Let's do it. I haven't done this in a while. Hopefully this goes okay. Again, this is not going to be anything terribly fancy, and we've got, of course, our very primitive launch pad here. Oops, I didn't mean to reset that view. Okay, so let's make sure we're going to do this right. The first thing I'm going to do is, and this is kind of a really, I think, a good tip. It's not anything crazy that nobody knows. But if you go down to the actual, we've got our pilot down here. He's got the internal view. He is inside the cockpit. But what we're going to have him do is, oh, there we go. You see this button go EVA. So now he's out on the outside of the spaceship, and he just kind of hangs out there until you move him around. So I'm going to have him take an EVA report, and then we're going to keep that experiment, and you see we get 3.1 science for it. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to drop down. I want to go get a surface sample, but since I don't have ladders, I won't be able to get back up. So we're just going to get back in by pressing B, and yeah, we got a milestone by doing an EVA test at home. That's good. So we got a little bit of money for that. So we don't need to throttle up or worry about reaction control or stability assist, because we don't have any of those, I don't think, on this. We do have a little bit of our reaction wheel. So I can't remember if I think that's stability assist. Basically, we're just going to blast off. And away we go. So you can see this flea has really got us going here. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll play with the audio settings as I get to them. I'm actually just going to go ahead and turn it down real quick, just in case it is way too loud for you guys. I'm trying to get better at that kind of thing. Alright, back to it. Okay, so we already used up all our fuel, and we are coasting into the air. And that is about it. So, what we're going to do is, we have to deploy this parachute at safe speeds. And it'll only fully deploy once you get closer to the ground, but it'll do like a half deploy, where it slows you down a little bit, but it doesn't fully pull you. And we will reach our top altitude with that launch here in a second. You can see it's slowing down. Our surface speed is still going, we're still going up until right now, and now we're falling back down. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy the parachute, I think. Hopefully I didn't do that too soon, because it's got a yellow on there, and that means that we're going a little fast for the parachute. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, we can look at what happened over here. So, broken a speed record of 20. These are milestones. Broken a speed record, launch our first vessel, speed record, altitude record, speed record, altitude record. We get 1 science, a little bit of reputation. 1 science is not going to help us out too much. But we did get a significant amount of money out of that, which I will take. And now that I look at everything, the view is a little different. There have been some upgrades since the last time I played, so that'll be fun to figure out what those things are. And now let's look at these check marks. So we completed that contract, as long as we land and don't die. And we have completed that one as well. I'm not sure why there were 2 of those there, but hopefully, yeah, see how we're slowing down a little bit more as we get closer to the ground. It's because the air is denser. And hopefully we'll be heading down at a nice, safe, and sane speed. Yeah, about this seems about right. A lot of parts can't take a very good impact, but some can, are made to. So I think the booster will actually survive. And if it does, I can recover the part and we can refuel it, kind of like Elon Musk's vision. It's kind of it's a definite reality in Kerbal land. All right. So speaking of Kerbal land, let's see if we land. Boop. Sweet. Okay. All right, that's done. So we already did an EVA. I'm just gonna try to do everything I can in every launch, just because I'm really gonna need it. So I'm gonna do an EVA. I'm gonna climb out, and we're gonna let him fall to the ground. He's okay. All right. So we can do another EVA report. Oh, he can't do a surface sample anymore. It actually has to be a scientist. What do you know? All right. Well, we'll keep that one too, because the first EVA we were technically flying because we were outside of the spaceship. We weren't touching the ground. I'm pretty sure. And in this one, we're actually on the surface of the planet, and that gives us a slightly different science reading. There's so many of them. You can get all the types of science for each place, like the runway, the launch pad, the administration building. All these different things. So, all right, so that's it. Now we're on the ground. We go to recover vessel. The user interface looks pretty nice, I gotta say. It's a little bit better than I remember. Yeah, so EVA report from Carlerway. Recovery of a vessel that survived a flight. And that's just because what we did was we were on the ground, just as our Jebediah. And so we got 9.6 science just from him being there. We go to next. He got a little XP. And then you see the spacecraft is already over here. Still on the ground over here. So we can recover that. And now we get the science from the EVA report that was stored in the command capsule. And recovery of a vessel that survived flight is always a nice thing. And we got our parts back. And the only thing we didn't get was the fuel, because we used it all up, which is fine. We just can't do anything about that. All right, let's go next. Done. And yeah, I'm going to check the timing on this, guys, and I'll be right back. All right, we're back. And wouldn't you know it, even with that, what I thought was kind of a short intro, I guess we did get a little long-winded taking a tour of the place. I'm going to try to keep these a little bit more concise in the future, but we're already at a 24-minute video. So, we got our contract complete for the gather science data, and so we can delete that message, and we gathered scientific data. So, and we did some more milestones. We returned to the surface safely, recovered our first crew, and performed the first of our experiments at home. So that's all done. Oops, didn't mean to click on the tracking station. Back out to the actual, there we go. Okay, so let's look at what we got. So now we're up to 25 science, and we have 139,000 Kerbal dollars. So let's go to the R&D real quick, and you see we've got enough to get both of these. So hopefully I didn't up that science too much. That was based on my previous plays of the games. Maybe they've balanced things a little bit more. I think we might be able to actually change that difficulty setting in game, so we might experiment with that. I'm going to go ahead and research those parts. That leaves us with 15, and we're going to need 20. Oh, we need 20 for the general rocketry, 18 for the stability, and 15 for survivability. And I'm actually going to go ahead and get that, because that's going to go. It's going to give us a heat shield, which we're definitely going to need. Some different types of parachutes, which are going to be super useful. A service bay, which we can put things like our new barometer in, and that's going to help us get a lot of science. And a landing strut to make it a little bit safer to land, because they can tolerate a faster impact with more G-force. So we're going to go ahead and get that, and now we're going to have all these new parts in our vehicle assembly building. So I think that's going to be about it for this episode. Next time, hopefully it's going to be a little bit more action-packed, even though I thought that was a successful first launch. And there we can see the moon rising and or setting. I'm not sure which direction it's going right now. And yeah, so there's one other thing I wanted to mention. I am going to add a mod onto this. I thought it would already be in here from my previous play, but I suppose I'm going to have to upgrade something. And what it is, it's a statistics mod. It gives you information as to what your spacecraft, what kind of power it has behind it. Things like its delta V, which is something that gets talked about a lot in Kerbal Space Program. Delta V is your change in velocity over time. And let's say, this is just off the top of my head, wrong, I'm sure, but for the sake of example, we need 1,800 delta V to get to the moon and land on it safely. So we want to build a rocket that has 1,800 plus. So we have like a little bit of leeway just in case we have to do course corrections, or we miss a window and we have to wait to go around again. Stuff like that. So it's something that immensely helps out with playing the game. I don't feel like it's a cheaty type of thing, because I think that any space program worth its salt, I don't think that's a phrase, would have all these things figured out and at their disposal anyways. So, okay, like I said, that's it for this one. And I'm super excited about this. There's so much to do. There's like so many different ways we can go about this. It's kind of sandboxy, but the contracts will kind of keep us in line with a good progression, and it should be a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, guys, and I am excited to see you next time.